Angelo. When you learn, teach, and when you get, give. Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. Being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. And today I am super excited because I have my co-host with me, Mr. Ariell Johnson. So we did a show together like a couple of weeks ago, and it went so well. He was such a great co-host that we wanted to, keep this thing going. So we decided that we were going to do another show together. So I'm happy that we did.
Yeah, I must have did something right. She invited me back. I'm back again. So we'll see how this goes.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Maybe another show. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah,
so
fingers crossed.
So before we get started with with the show, I just want to let everyone know that you can see past episodes on my YouTube channel, Deli Teach, DELITEACH. You can check it out there. All the past episodes, we've had some great guests, and I also want you to make sure that you follow or subscribe to the channel as well. And you can follow me on Twitter, which is Deli Teach, DELITEACH as well. We're always looking for new sponsors to support our program so we can continue bringing you shows that are informative and enlightening and all of that. So you can always contact me on my website, verdeljones.com, Facebook, I'm all over. And in the intro, you saw all of my contact information. I would like to give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsor, Miss Nancy Vargas Johnson. She's an expert realtor. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home within the Long Island area, Nassau County, Suffolk County, you want to make sure you give Nancy a call. Her number is 631-891-8916. Just a quick little thing about Nancy. My dad was selling a home. My grandfather passed away. His father passed away. I recommended her to my dad, and she sold the home. And we know that when you're selling a home in an estate sale kind of way, it can be kind of challenging, and she did an awesome job. So I want to thank her, and make sure if you're looking for a home or selling a home that you give her a call. Definitely love Nancy. So we're going to kick off the show. What we wanted to do is kind of talk about some current events, like what's going on. We figured, like, what are we going to talk about beforehand? Because we have an awesome guest that's going to...
Very awesome.
I'm so excited to have Ariell Johnson here. She is the owner of Amalgam Comics and Coffeehouse in Philadelphia. So we're going to bring her on in a second. She's via Skype with us, so we'll be able to talk to her. But before we do that, we wanted to kind of throw some things out there that we've been thinking of, we talk a lot at home and we debate about a lot of different things.
We do.
So we wanted to kind of, bring that kind of dynamic to you guys as well, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I really wanted to talk about was I'm gonna say the name and I'm gonna leave it out there and I'm gonna let Jeremiah pick it up.
Oh, really?
Bill Cosby.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know. It's a lot with that. We have the trial going on, of course, and I guess. Was it a hung jury?
A hung jury. Yeah, right.
Jury, which means that
they dismissed it, or
no, it was a hung jury. I think two of the jurors, they didn't all agree. So now the prosecution is talking about retrying him again.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's a lot when it comes to Bill Cosby and his legacy and the whole bit. There's a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions in terms of what he's being charged with and things. So I mean, growing up as a kid, since we were kids, from Fat Albert.
Right.
In the
right, exactly. That was good, right?
Yeah, I like that. From Fat Albert to you can go back to I Spy. He was one of the first, if not the first.
That's right.
African American on a
series, right?
Yeah. And coming up through, I think. No, he wasn't on. That was Morgan Freeman on Electric Company. But all the things he did with as far as children, Jello pudding, all the way up through the Cosby Show, which was iconic.
Right, and that's one of the things that we kind of talk about. Like when we were growing up, we watched the Cosby Show. We look forward to seeing it every Thursday. Every Thursday night, that was the thing to do, and we watched it as kids. Right. But then we have the whole DVD box set of all of his, of the shows. And the thing is, 7, 8 seasons. But the thing is, watching it as adults, it was so impactful.
Oh, no question.
Because I didn't realize, I don't think we both realized, that there were so many things that we saw on that show that we actually utilized.
Right. You're absolutely right. And things that we took away, whether we saw it in our households, we may have saw, a lot of the things that reminded you of home or not, that you could have taken away from those shows. That it just showed you a slice of life where you saw yourself.
Yeah, it was aspirational.
It was aspirational and inspirational.
Right.
So it was, it was a lot. And Bill Cosby, meant a lot. A lot as far as in terms of what he did as far as education and scholarship, and I don't know. It's just a lot seeing him in this position. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. As far as the rape trial and stuff, so I won't even get into that. Whether whatever people think is what they think, but just in terms of his legacy, there's a lot there, and it's rough. When they said they were taking, like, for a while, they took all the stuff off the air. That was crazy.
I know. It's like separating the art from the man. Right, exactly. And that happens in a lot of situations because you have these creative geniuses that really do some foul things.
Right.
But you're looking at the art, what they brought to the table, what they contributed.
Right.
And we often talk about this. Do you watching the Cosby Show, I think it really informed how we raised our own children.
Oh, no question.
It's
funny, just like we were talking the last time I was on the show.
Yeah.
And we were talking about one of the subjects we were talking about in the whole relationship thing. Remember the whole...
Oh, yeah, that's right. We even referred to it in our last show.
Yeah, that was from the Cosby Show when he was talking to Elvin, getting involved, and it was...
Right. Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to back off. So, to this day.
So. Yeah, so it's
just sad seeing him in this position
It really is.
It's real.
It is. So, talking about raising kids.
Okay.
So, Jeremiah, about a week ago or so, he put this thing on Facebook, and he was talking about kids at the bus stop. And he was saying, why does the bus stop at every single house? I mean, he went in. So that simple little quote, I don't know exactly what it was, but it was something to that effect.
Well,
he got all of these responses from individuals and...
feeling the same way that
Right, and giving this commentary about the kids.
Well, I mean, it was a situation. I was going to work a little late. And I'm on the road. I'm normally, it takes me, maybe 5 minutes. It took me like 15 minutes because the bus was stopping at every single house to pick, and the parents was out there and their little kid would get on the bus. And then I was like, all right, here we go. Here we go again. I'm like, oh, are you serious?
Right. You, back in the day.
Oh, man. You'd have to walk, if you had a block, everybody through the snow or whatever it was, everybody walked to the end of the block, and that's where they collected it, and then you went to the next block.
Right.
Now it's every single house.
I mean,
I don't know if it's a situation. I had one response from someone. They was like, well, predators out there now.
Right.
We have predators. Predators been around since the beginning of time.
Right, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So what, they didn't care about us?
Right.
You know what I mean? We was running to the wolves. We was on our own.
That's right.
But it's just, just a little old man rant. Get off my grass rant.
Get off my lawn. Exactly.
So it's just an old man rant. But come on. I'm sure by the response that I got, I wasn't the only one.
No, you weren't. It was amazing. I'm like, being in education, I was like, I get it, but at the same time, if they could do it, they could do it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sure if I was a kid, I would appreciate
Absolutely.
it. If I could just walk right out my door and walk right onto the bus.
Absolutely.
But it was just, just a little rant.
So let's kind of shift a little bit, because what we're going to be talking about today is comics, comic books.
Okay.
And in my household, there are several individuals that love comics. My brother, our son, Jeremiah, his brother. So, this is a big deal in our family.
Oh, no question.
When they talk about comic books, it's like real life. And
it is real life.
It is real life. It's amazing how and I just want to kind of get a sense of why they're so important and your experience with them. And then we're just going to have a fabulous guest that's going to unpack some of this for us.
Well, all right, for me, growing up, I can't remember a time. I started reading comic books, I can't even remember. It was so young. My brother introduced me to comic books.
Right.
I guess my older brother introduced me to comic books. comic books were fascinating for me because I think I became a better reader.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and comprehension. To me, like I was joking, but comic books are real life because the stories brought in things. I learned about a lot of things from reading comic books as a young kid growing up.
I remember Marcus would tell us like life lessons, or he would share with us, or we would be talking about life lessons, and he would say, "Oh, that's the same as," and he would name a comic book character that related to it. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So they brought all that a lot of time, even more so now than even back in the day. They brought real life situations into the comics. So. So I've grown up with comics all my life, you know. At one time, my brother had, and this is back in the day, he had over, I don't know, he had thousands and thousands of comic books, and I would read his, you know.
Right.
Make sure you put it back in the plastic. You know, it was a whole big
whole big thing.
Yeah, I couldn't eat, you know what I mean?
Right.
God forbid if I was eating a sandwich over the comic book. You know,
got ketchup on it or whatever, right?
Lord, don't let that happen.
That's funny.
But it was just growing up in my household, and, you know, that passed on to our son.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
And he's a big comic head now, and I mean, it's just a part of life.
Yeah, so. I think a lot of kids are into comics nowadays. It's so interesting. So, I wanted to show Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman, we went to see Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman as a kid. Growing up, I read like Archie and Richie Rich, you know. But Wonder Woman was, you know, with Linda Carter, was very impactful. The strong woman. You know,
you gonna do the spin?
I'm not gonna do the spin. Not today. I wasn't feeling well today, so I'm not gonna do the spin. No. But this film set records for the biggest domestic opening for a female director, Patty Jenkins. It was 103.3 million, the biggest opening for a woman-led comic book film. And I was reading an article in Variety, and it was titled "As Wonder Woman Soars, Movies Starring Men Fail to Connect at the box office." And they were talking like Pirates of the Caribbean didn't do well, and some other things didn't do well. And the article kind of was leaning toward our political climate, and it may have something to do with, you know, people wanting to see a woman actually win.
Okay.
So we have a guest with us today, and she's going to help us unpack all things comics. So I'm really excited about this. So just before we bring her on, we're going to bring her on in a minute. I want to show a brief little clip about Ariell Johnson.
Ariell Johnson is the founder and president of Amalgam Comics and Coffeehouse, the first black woman to own a comic book store on the East Coast. Her comic book and coffeehouse opened in December of 2015 in Philadelphia. And since then, she has been featured on several media outlets including ABC News, NBC News, Madame Noir, Essence, and Huffington Post, just to name a few. Her popularity gained the attention of Marvel Comics, which led to a variant cover of Invincible Iron Man with new Marvel superhero Riri Williams. Ariell Johnson, entrepreneur, role model, and trailblazer.
We want to welcome Ariell Johnson to the show. We are so excited to have her here today. So thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah. Now, we were just talking about Wonder Woman a little bit, and we just gave a little intro. I don't know if you could hear it, but we gave a little intro about who you are and, you know, your store and all of that. And we're just, you know, so excited to be able to speak with you and just so proud of the work that you're doing. Why do you? So much. You're welcome. Why do you think Wonder Woman has gained such momentum?
Because it's, you know, we're like 20 years in, 20 plus, I guess, years into comic book movies, and we're just getting a Wonder Woman movie, which is really odd. I mean, when you think about who Wonder Woman is in the DC universe, it's like she's part of the Trinity. So it's Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Right.
And so the fact that we've had, you know, numerous iterations of Superman, we've had numerous iterations of Batman, and we're just getting a Wonder Woman movie, it's like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
And so I think people were just long overdue for it. And it was just really well done. I think Gal Gadot did a great job as Diana, and just, you know, being able to see a live action version of Themyscira and seeing like the women that they got to play the Amazons, like like athletes and, you know, women who looked the part. And just, you know, I think the director did a fantastic job with just the whole feel of the film. And it was just an awesome movie too.
It really
so
was.
It's a mixture of it being just that good and fan anticipation for it.
Right, exactly.
Right. Yeah, that actually, you're right. Those scenes in the beginning when she was training with the Amazon, that's some of my favorite parts of the movie. Was the beginning, because it was real authentic and
Right.
you know what I mean, how they acted. It was real good. I really enjoyed that part. So listen, Ariell, how long have you been into comic books?
I started reading comic books in high school, so maybe 16 or 17. Before then, I kind of got into comics by way of cartoons, because Fox used to have a X-Men cartoon that came on.
Right.
And that's what really kind of was the shifting point for me to become kind of interested in comics because of Storm. I really loved her character, and I had never seen a black woman superhero before.
Right.
So she just kind of piqued my interest from the beginning, and it was out of my desire to learn more about her that I got into comics.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, and that's where did you grow up at? Where are you from originally?
Originally from Baltimore / Glen Burnie.
Okay, be more.
So I split time between Baltimore and Glen Burnie. Most people, if you know Baltimore, generally you know Glen Burnie too.
Right.
Glen Burnie is considered the county.
Right.
So I'm probably more county girl than city girl in Baltimore terms, but in Philly, I'm definitely a city girl.
Yeah, I understand.
So speaking of Philly, you went to Temple University.
I did.
Our daughter goes to Temple University.
TU?
Oh.
So
Those owls.
yeah, that's right. What is it? Cherry and white. So what did you study at Temple? Because I really want to get a sense of how we're going to talk about how you decided to, go this route. So what did you major in college? And then how did you, or what inspired you to open up a comic book store and coffee
Well,
house?
my major in college was accounting.
Okay.
So I had a business background, business
right.
course of study. And I actually got the idea for the shop when I was in college, kind of out of a loss of a community space. My comic book routine is that I would go on Fridays and then go to this really dope comic book shop that was this really dope coffee shop that was across the street from my comic book store. And the coffee shop closed. And so I was kind of at a loss for what to do after getting my books each week. Because for me, it wasn't as easy as finding another coffee shop, because that was just a very special place. The woman that owned it, she created a very kind of special community space that I just didn't feel what I felt there. I didn't feel anywhere else. So it was out of the loss of that space that gave me the idea. And it was more of me just thinking it would be cool if I didn't have to look for a space outside of the comic book store to be my community space. What if the comic book store was also a community space, a place where people can gather and spend prolonged periods of time, either alone or in groups or whatever. So that was kind of the original imagining of Amalgam, but it would be 10 years or so before I actually actively started working on it. And then from the point of actively starting to make it a reality, it would be a 3-year process from business plan to opening the doors.
Right.
And I decided to go that route because at the time I was really unhappy with my professional life. I had 2 jobs at the time. College debt, but I didn't really connect with either of them. I was kind of losing interest, and I felt I felt like I was kind of spinning my wheels and not getting anywhere, and that I was working myself to death, and I wasn't happy.
Right.
So that was part one of it, just kind of me searching for what it was I wanted to do in the world, and then also my mom at the time had a prolonged illness, and she was in a period of extreme decline, which ultimately resulted in us losing her. And she was only 57 when she passed.
Wow. Oh boy.
And so that was the next piece, just, you know, the loss of my mom, who was not an old woman. You know, she was not a senior.
Right.
Just kind of, you know, got me thinking about, you know, my own mortality and the time we have. And right. I lost my dad also when I was 16. And he also, you know, was young, like, again, not 60. So, you know, so I'm in this place where, you know, I'm really unhappy with what I'm doing. You know, I'm not quite 30, but I'm pushing 30. And, you know, I lost both of my parents before they were 60, right. You know, so I was just kind of in a place of, you know, thinking about my own mortality and the time that we have here, right. and what I want that time to mean. It's like my mom had a lot of things she wanted to do, you know, some things she got to do, some things she didn't. But I just kind of was in a place where I wanted to do as much as I could, as much, you know, as much as, you know, finances and time would allow.
Right.
So that, you know, if my time was sooner rather than later, I wouldn't have regrets.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then the third piece was, you know, a conversation I had between my sister and my brother-in-law. You know, I was just fangirl ranting about one a comic book movie. It was probably X-Men, but I can't remember which one. And just, you know, being a fangirl, being unhappy with some choices that they made. Jokingly said, he's like, you know, the only time you get excited about what you're talking about is when you're talking about dance or comics.
Right.
Because I dance and like for fun as a extracurricular. And so when he said that, I kind of took it the wrong way, because I was having a little bit of a quarter life crisis and struggled with the things that I enjoy, because I really enjoy comic books, but I was at a place where I was like, you know, I'm older, you know, maybe I should stop reading comics. Maybe I'm too old for that. Maybe I need to get more, you know, quote unquote adult interests. Though, right. You know, I don't really know what that means. I still don't know what that means. But my sister kind of, you know, saw my train of thought and, you know, kind of stopped me and said, you know, that's not what he's saying. He's saying, if that is something that excites you, then you need to really think about that.
Right.
And, you know, and it was, in true big sister form, like, she didn't tell me what to do. She just said, you know, you need to kind of sit down and evaluate, like, what that means and what that could mean for you. So it was like all those three things kind of coming to a head that made me say maybe, you know, trying to make Amalgam a reality wasn't such a crazy idea.
Right. Okay. Right. Yeah.
So how did you come up with the name Amalgam Comics? Like, what is that?
So it was actually from an organic conversation I had with one of my best friends. We were actively trying to name the shop. So we had like a list of names that we were kind of tossing around, but none of them quite encompassed everything I wanted Amalgam to be. And so we kind of worked backwards, and we just started listing, like, what is Amalgam? So, you know, it's a comic book store, it's a coffee shop, it's a place for gamers, it's a place for sci-fi nerds. So kind of just like, what is it, right? And getting all that down on paper. And then just kind of at the end of our listing, she said, yeah, it'll be an amalgamation. And when she said that, I was like, that's it. I was like, that's perfect. Amalgam, like, that's exactly what it is. It's comics, it's coffee, it's bridging different kind of fandoms together. It's for seasoned comic book readers. It's for newbies. It's for, you know, people of color. It's for queer people. It's, you know, it's for all, you know, it's everyone. It's like all inclusive, and it's this, you know, melting pot of things. It's an amalgam. And that really just made sense. And I think the name also allows us to grow and to kind of organically evolve and not feel like, oh man, now our name doesn't fit. You know,
right.
Because I'm not sure what the word means. It will always fit. That's a really cool part of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you guys are located in Philly. Where exactly are you located in Philly?
So we're in North Philadelphia in the Kensington section of North Philly. We're located on Frankfurt Avenue, which is a pretty well-known commercial corridor. Recently seeing some revitalizations, like businesses are coming back to the community. So the section of Kensington that we're on is, revitalization is just starting to kind of take off up here. So we are one of the first businesses to open before, housing construction started.
Right.
And now stuff is kind of popping up around us.
Which is great. And what type of, so people come into your, into your place, your space, and what type of reaction have you been getting when individuals find out that you're the owner, you're the founder and president of Amalgam Comics and Coffeehouse?
Well, I mean, most people who come here already know,
right?
Just because we've made the news a couple times.
Yeah, you have.
so it's and I am become very much like the face of Amalgam,
right?
So a lot of people who come already know I own the store. So it's more when people come in, people are looking around and they're like, "You're the owner, right?" I talk to you. But yes, and then there are a few people who come in who maybe don't know. Again, it's a positive reaction.
Right.
People tell me congratulations and things like that. But it's more. But the people that I get, I guess the most enthusiastic reactions from are the people who already know and who came to the store because of that.
Right? Yeah. And speaking of press, you've had so much press with with the opening of your show, being the first African American woman to own a comic book store. How has the press really impacted your business and you personally, really?
Well, I'm an introvert.
Okay.
Because of all the press and the follow-up interviews and people just wanting to talk to me in general, I'm having to adapt and kind of open myself up to that. Like I'm not antisocial, but I get energy from being alone.
Right.
So when my interviews or talk or someone wants to you kind of grab my ear for a second. Like all that stuff just kind of like tires me out a little bit. So I'm just trying to balance it and make sure that I also am taking time for myself and to myself to like regenerate.
Right.
And I mean, for me personally, I think that's been just the toughest part because I am kind of operating in a lane that is not generally my own.
Right.
And then for the store, it's been really awesome. Again, because we've had such a great response and public support. But it's also been a challenge because of the press. People think that we're bigger than we are, that we've been around longer than we have, and that we are capable of more than we really are at this point because we're still we're only a year and a half old.
Right.
So, sometimes it's, we kind of have to dial back and, explain to people like, oh, we're not able to, honor these kinds of requests because we just cannot do it at this time, for whatever reason. So there's that piece, again, just kind of combating like the fact that people think we're more established.
Right.
And so, it's just been a little bit of a whirlwind. So we've had a very untraditional first year, and we're going into a very untraditional second year as well.
Right.
So it's me again trying to find that balance to actually take time, or understanding what to say no to, because I do need to spend real time with the business.
Right.
I'm still learning it. I'm a new business owner, and this is. Comic books aren't an easy business, and I'm still learning it. So they're, and so again, all the attention kind of pulls me away from the shop, probably a little more than I'd like. And so again, it's me like kind of fighting to get some of that time back so that I can, spend time with the books and spend time in the store and spend time with my crew to understand like what's happening in the store, what needs to happen, what needs to change, and so that I can adapt. So it's like all these moving pieces and just trying to figure out the right formula to make it all work.
Right. Yeah.
So, what do you think about the popularity right now of comics and in the movies right now with all these different movies, X-Men to the Superman to the Batman to what do you think about it in general? As far as you think it's a good thing?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing. I mean, there, as a like a fan that like depending on what your fandom is and what you follow, I feel like true fanboys and fangirls are always angry because like they
didn't pick the right person,
right? Quite do what you wanted to.
Right. They didn't get the right person for the part.
Who devoted your life to this?
Right.
So the X-Men movies are challenging for me because I know that universe so well.
Right.
That I just spend a lot of time like, I don't know about that. Just and they're like entertainment value wise, it's like I enjoy it, but sometimes as an X-Men fan, like things are lacking for me.
Oh, yeah.
Except Logan, because Logan was beautiful, phenomenal, and is now the measure by which I will judge all of other superhero movies. It was fantastic.
My son is sitting here shaking his head. He totally agrees with you.
I'm just so pleased. But like in general, just kind of for the general public, and I think it's great. Funny. I think it gives people a new interest in comic books. I get a lot of newbies in the shop who, sometimes it's like, oh, I just saw Wonder Woman and I really liked it. I wanted to read some Wonder Woman. Right. So what can you recommend? Like that kind of stuff. So it does have the potential to turn people into, comic book fans too.
Right. People that
and for me, I always feel like the book is better than the movie. So even when the movie is fantastic, it's like you should definitely like take time out to like read some of the text behind it because it's it's fantastic storytelling.
Right.
And I was going to ask, well, you already stated, I don't know if it's still the fact, your favorite comic character, that's still Storm?
It is definitely still Storm.
Still Storm, okay. It's funny, just going back real quick to how you were saying true comic heads always have something to say about. Going way back, me and my brother, like I said, my brother got me into the comic books. We used to, this is before they had, like when Superman, the first one, Christopher Reeves came out, we were reading the comic books and we would always say, well, this person would be a good, like back then they didn't have, if they came out with a movie, it was some cheesy movie. As a matter of fact, I just saw, they did make a Wonder Woman movie, not the Linda Carter, I saw it. Matter of fact, I downloaded it. I think Kathy Lee Crosby paid it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's some cheesy,
right.
They always had some cheesy, comic book movie back in the day. But we always were like, this person would be a good character, this character. So, like, just like how you say now with the movies coming out now, it's like, sometimes you're like, you get mad when they recycle people. Like, Human Torch played is Captain America. It's like, why do they do that?
Right.
Use the same character. So, but it's real interesting. So,
right.
What did you think about the Black Panther trailer?
Okay, so I don't want to talk about it. No, it was fantastic, but it's too far away, and I just feel stressed when I think about it. It's too much to think about. It's too much what's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, I think it's going to be phenomenal. Lupita and Denai, and Angela Bassett, and Michael B. Jordan, like and Chadwick Boseman, just all these like fantastic actors in one place at one time.
Right.
Being black together. I love it. I'm excited for it, but I've been
a little nervous.
I've kind of taken a vow of silence. It's like I just need to see it.
Right.
I don't want to like speculate. I just want to see it.
Right. Okay. And it is far out. What does it come out like February of next year?
I think it comes out in February of 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I'm surprised they did all the filming, so now they're in post, right? Post-production.
Right. Like, and I got a lot to cover before Black Panthers. Like Game of Thrones comes back soon.
Oh,
yeah.
I got other things to be stressed out about.
Right. Yeah.
I can't stress about Panther, not right now.
Game of Thrones is gonna be ridiculous.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is love that.
Oh my God.
And you know what? We're talking about Wonder Woman and you know, girl power. The last episode of Game of Thrones, I think, was one of the best, with all the women just coming together and just it was phenomenal. It was so good.
She was screaming.
It was so good.
It's crazy.
It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
So you were talking about individuals. You know, you have some novice that come in to the store, the coffee house, and they might not be as familiar with comics, but they've seen the press, or they heard, or like you said, they've seen a movie, and they're interested. What do you suggest people kind of start out with if they're new to comics?
I mean, we try to just kind of gauge what kind of stuff they like, because there's more to comics than superheroes. So if you are not capes,
okay,
you don't have to read capes. You know, there's mystery, there's horror, there's comedy.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There is kind of supernatural mysticism type. Like it can be anything you want. So we just kind of start with try to get an understanding of what that people person likes, what they maybe watch, or other kind of things that they read, and then to point them in the right direction. For newer readers, though, I do try to point them to collections, like collected volumes of books, I should say, because I feel like it's easier to keep track of. And if you're not used to if you want to keep up with this book, you have to come back once a month to get the new issue.
Right.
So if you're not used to that periodical system,
okay.
Collected volumes are an easy way to get 4 to 6 issues in one book, and then kind of bit, if that makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense.
I just find it's easier. It keeps people's interest a little bit better. That I think that tends to work well for new comic book readers. Like if you're new to comics, I think that's a good way to start.
Okay. So we want to show the variant cover. You were on a variant cover, so I know you wanted to ask Ariell about this, because that was exciting.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, that's crazy. How excited were you to have that cover on the Invincible Iron Man?
Say it again.
How excited were you to have to get that cover? Because that's phenomenal.
Well, you know what? It was, during the process, there was so much going on. I wasn't really thinking about it, honestly. Publishers will approach stores and ask them if they want to do a variant cover. So in this case, Marvel approached us and asked us if we wanted to do a variant cover for the new Invincible Iron Man, focused on Riri Williams. And I think, the Black woman connection was there and everything.
Right.
And I originally said no, actually.
Oh, really?
Randy Green, my comic book Jedi, like my lead comic book guy here, he was like, no, I really think we should do this. And I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm like, no, I don't think we can do it. I don't think we can afford to do it, right?
Oh, okay.
But he was like, no, we really need to do this. Let me reach out to them. So he went back and forth, negotiated a number that worked for both of us that we could realistically do. And that was the start of the process. But really, everything was Randy's idea. Again, he awesome. Saw the enormity of kind of all these things happening at once. So the fact that there's this little Black girl is taking up the mantle of Iron Man, and then our store opening, and just the attention that we got for me being a Black woman owning a comic book store. He just thought it would be a good idea to have us both in the same space on the cover, and not just together on the cover, but in the shop. If you've seen the cover,
that's cool.
We are actually in the shop, the windows in the back, those are real. The brick accents, that's real. Even the table we were sitting at, the Captain America table, that's a real table that we have here. So Elizabeth Tork, the artist, really just knocked it out of the park with her attention to detail. Like even my rendering, I was kind of taken aback by how much it did actually look like me, you know, like the cool world version of me, but definitely when you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that does look like
that's pretty cool.
So that was really cool to, you know, see it. But again, up until I actually saw it, I was not thinking that much about it because I was like, okay, I have to go to the store and I have to pay this bill. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about the store stuff. But when when Elizabeth Tork sent over, or I guess Marvel from Elizabeth Tork sent over the kind of initial sketch, I did get excited because it was just phenomenal and beyond anything that I was even thinking it would be.
Right.
But just kind of the fact that it exists in general, I don't think I've had really time to process it. You know what I mean? Even still, it came out in November, and I'm still kind of like, yeah, I guess that did happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to the point, like, I always forget to mention it. I actually had a speaking engagement a couple weeks ago, and one of the attendees was like, well, you didn't mention the fact that you're on a comic book cover. And I laughed. I said, well, I never mention it, and you're the first person to ever call me out for it.
Come on, Ariel, you got to get that, when you go speak, you got to get that blown up, have that sitting in
have
the
it
back.
right in the back.
You know what I'm saying? Wherever you go, just have it sitting in the back there, you know what I mean? Seriously, I know I would.
Right. You know, so we asked our son to you know, he asked us to ask a question through him. And the question was, you know, we call him our comic book aficionado. What are your feelings about Riri Williams as Ironheart?
Oh no, I think it's awesome. I think you know, she's a different type of hero. It's not you know, first of all, she's 15, so she's not throwing sex appeal out everywhere, right? And then, you know, her superpower is her mind. Like she's smart, you know, and so she builds her own suit, and you know, can kind of go toe to toe, you know, with Tony as far as like, you know, what she's capable of doing with the suit and, you know, outfitting the suit and all that. And I think that's really important, especially for young girls and specifically young Black girls to see, because that's not an image of us that we usually get to see. You know, we don't get to be book smart, or you know what I mean, or if we are, we get made fun of for it. We don't become a superhero because of it. So I think it's really significant just in terms of representation and different types of representation, to kind of get a different, I don't even want to say different, but to get a varied narrative of Black people, of Black women, because we're not a monolith. Everybody's different, you know. So the fact that we always get kind of cycled back the same kind of images, you know, of Black women, either you know, we're the sex pod or we're sexless, you know, like we figure taking care of everybody else.
That's right,
you know what I mean, or we're you know, quote unquote hood or whatever. But it's like, but those are the images of us that the mainstream media is comfortable with, right? Not and again, it's like, if you're hood, you can be hood. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like knocking how you choose to express yourself or who you are, but it's like, but that's not
the only,
you know?
Right.
And we get into this place where it's like, oh, that's the only way we can represent a Black woman, or that's the only believable way to represent a Black woman, is if they fit in one of these tropes, and she is not fitting in that trope. She's like doing something completely new, something that we're not usually allowed to do in media, which I think is really, you know, really awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not the only, you know, Black girl, Marvel, you know, STEM smart girl, Moon Girl, and Devil Dinosaur is another book that features a kind of STEM focused young Black girl as the protagonist.
Interesting. So, you know, what can people expect when they come to your shop? We have a couple of shots of the store that I want to show people. There's the, you know, kind of the storefront. your coffee house too, so you guys sell snacks and things like that also in the store. And I also saw there was some events there, so you also have events. But what's kind of the vibe that that people will get when they come to your store?
Oh, it's a very like chill, relaxing vibe. I think. I mean, a lot of people, just come here and hang out. So I imagine it feels like a second home for people. It's definitely chill, and kind of if you want to come in and get into a conversation with one of the crew or another customer, you can do that. If you just want to sit quietly and not speak to anybody, you can do that too. We have people that come to game. We have people come to read or to get work done. So it's like there's always different kinds of things happening, and it's interesting because sometimes all those things are happening at once.
Right.
Again, just everybody kind of using the space and to I guess fill a need that they have. But even all these different types of needs are being fulfilled at the same time. It's really cool. But yes, it's a very, very chill. Sorry about that. I'm in the shop if you can hear
That's
that.
That's all right.
Like brewing up some coffee or something. Grinding some coffee beans in the background or something.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just very, very chill, very, just kind of laid back, relaxed spot.
Okay. All right. So what's in the future for Miss Ariell Johnson? You got any upcoming projects going on at the spot or?
Yeah, well, we actually just we were just awarded a grant through the Night Cities Challenge, which is a branch of the Knight Foundation, for a project that that's called Up and Away, building a programming space at Amalgam Comics and Coffeehouse. So what this grant will enable us to do is to open up the remaining rooms of the shop. So if you ever get a chance to come, it's a very large space. But what people don't realize is it's actually even bigger than this. They're just rooms that we couldn't afford to renovate in the initial renovation phase. So this grant will allow us to do that. And then in addition to building this space, which is going to function as kind of a multi-purpose type room, we are going to be working to develop curriculum for coming creators, with a focus on non-traditional creators. So again, people of color, people from the LGBTQ community, women, like just people who are usually kind of not seen traditionally as comic book fans, who have an interest in comic books and not just an interest in reading, but also creating. And the whole point is to kind of level the playing field, so to speak, for those people who are trying to get into the business. Comic books are our big business, and sometimes you need a certain skill set to do well. And so if you're from a community that did not have those kind of resources to maybe go to art school or something like that, but you kind of have like this natural raw talent and interest in developing this thing, we want to kind of help people be able to do that. That's so with the classes, we'd be focusing for both kids and adults for things like illustrating, writing, storyboarding, editing, and even professional development skills such as resume building or portfolio building, or like pitching, like how to pitch your idea to a publisher or whatever. Just kind of things to kind of help people, kind of get in the game and have a good understanding of what they need to succeed. And all of this is in line with our mission of helping to diversify the comic book landscape. And I think, the best way to really diversify like what's being created is to diversify who's creating it. Right. It's nice to have different people represented in the covers and in the pages of the books, but at the end of the day, if everybody who's writing it is still like a white guy, that's not, that's not necessarily coming from a genuine place. But so if people of color are able to write about their experiences, if queer people are able to write about their experiences from their own viewpoint, you know what I mean? And they're developing these characters from actual working knowledge of these communities and these, just these people, you know what I mean? And so we want to help be a part of that and impact that kind of evolution of comics in a positive way.
Okay, that's great.
Well, we are out of time, and I just want you to let people know where they can, where they can find you, where they can reach you, where they can, so they can visit and definitely patronize your space. So where can people reach out to you?
Okay, so we are located at 2578 Frankfurt Avenue. That's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look for Amalgam Philly. That's AMALGAM PHILLY. And you'll find us there.
Awesome.
Great.
We want to thank you so much for joining us. This was so great, informative, so excited about the work you're doing, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Thank you.
I'm definitely, when I'm in Philly, I'm definitely coming through. So
absolutely.
Gotta stop by there.
Absolutely. So I want to thank everybody for watching Conversations with Verdel Jones with my host, Jeremiah Jones. And remember to check us out on YouTube at Deli Teach, and have a good night.